In order for you to fully understand what this video is about, I would love to show you what happened to me a few weeks ago, as I'm sure you can relate to this story. I went for a walk around the lake, and as I walked, I saw a duck swimming in the water. Looking at the lake, I noticed that many trees were coming out of the water, and it looked a bit like a swamp to me. This very thought took me back to a mission I played in Red Dead Redemption 2. You explore the swamps during the night on a tiny boat with only a small light to see around yourself. This mission was extremely immersive because the swamp gave a very unique atmosphere. As I kept this thought in my mind whilst walking, I thought to myself it would make a great setting for a novel. Imagine a fantasy world that is an endless swamp, no land, just trees and plants coming out of the water. Imagine how people would live inside of floating wooden houses linked together to form villages and cities, and people would use small boats to move around. They could live from fishing and from a few plants that grow in the area. And what if on top of this, there were legends about what was in the water, monsters, people disappearing in the region, and our main character could set off to discover what lies beyond the horizon. Filled with energy from this burst of inspiration and creativity, I pull out my phone and record a voice memo of all these ideas so I don't forget them. Later that day, I get home and sit at my desk. It's time to start plotting, creating characters, and do some world building. But I want to do it right, so I first go on YouTube and look for story writing tutorials. Videos called World Building Tips, the 10 things every beginner should know before they start writing their novel. I watch them all. Then, I think about the potential of my story. It could make a great novel, so I need to think about how I might publish it someday. But I don't know anything about that, so I go back to YouTube and watch even more videos on how to get published, how some writers actually make thousands of euros from writing books. And I start to imagine myself making a living from writing novel, and it's very exciting. But first, and you guessed it, I need to write a book. I think you see where I'm getting at. To this day, I haven't written a single page of this book idea I just told you about. Nothing. It's just an empty file on my computer. Most of the time, you are your own obstacle. Now you might have told yourself, this is not me, this is not what I'm made for, I should focus on what I already know. Do not be afraid to open new doors. How can you ever become good at playing guitar if you never start practicing? Same goes with everything in your life. There are probably some things you are currently good at, and that you have started in one of two ways. Either you started it in your younger years before intellectualizing it too much, or it was forced onto you by someone else until it became second nature. If you think that something is not meant for you, you assume that you will perform poorly. You may, for instance, dream of starting a YouTube channel, but something is stopping you, and for years you have been telling yourself, what if I make a video and it sucks? Well, guess what? It will suck. But even if it does, almost no one will ever see it. This is my personal challenge. I completely accept the fact that my first trials won't be good. However, when I look at the time I will have to spend on a certain task, I always discourage myself by thinking it is not worth it, that nobody will ever care to look at it. But you must start at one point. You need to build momentum. But this is part of the process. You make something for the first time, it's not really good, you share it online, and no one pays attention to it. You get to do it a second time, make it slightly better than the first, upload it, you get some attention, which motivates you. For your third time, you spend more time than you ever did, and the result shows that you put care and passion into it. You upload it, and naturally, it performs alright, because it is now worth other people's time. The answer is this. You are not a genius, you are not special, and this is normal. How often do you look at videos of YouTube channels under 100 subscribers? And show me an artist on your Spotify playlist that is below 100 monthly listeners. This is normal. You can't support the infinite amount of artists and creators who are just getting started, so you should not expect them to do it for you. The most important thing here is to start, and my problem is often here as well. I project myself so far in the future before even starting anything that I end up never doing it. Some people use the term perfectionist to justify why they never start doing something. Now this term is hard to admit and relate to without feeling somehow pretentious. It implies that you refuse to produce anything unless it matches the standards of perfection. But I know my work will be far from perfect, and I'm okay with it. So why can't I start writing? Every time I have a spark of creativity, I immediately intellectualize my idea and start to think about how I can go about building on it, what the end result will look like, and what I will do after that. Because I look too far ahead, I never get to start anything in the first place. After giving up on so many projects because I never did what was necessary to reach my goals, I started to see myself as someone who only wants the end results without giving any work. This shaped me into thinking I had shallow ambitions and that all I wanted were superficial rewards. You need to realize that you could undertake 100 projects that will never take you anywhere or do absolutely nothing. Yes, doing nothing won't take you anywhere as well, but you also will miss on hundreds of opportunities to learn something new, to get a clearer vision of what you want to do and what you don't want to do. That being said, what can we do from here? The first thing is to accept that you will be bad at something you are new to. The second thing is to see all your sparks of creativity as a sign. It shows you that you have potential, that you have dreams, that you are a creative person, that you have something inside of you that you need to get out and show to the world. Embrace it. Next, stop intellectualizing everything. If you feel like writing a short story about this or that, do it, without trying to know if you will continue or give up on this idea in the future. For as long as you enjoy the act of writing, do it, period. Do not wait for the world to be ready for you to release your first project, because it will never happen. Instead, make sure that you practice, move on to new projects, and get better and better until you can be proud of sharing something of value. There are two ways to go about this. Some will say that you should wait until you are good at what you do before you share it. Some will say that you should share it and improve as you go. I have realized that the second way is the best. It forces you to finish what you start as often as possible. It grows your audience, perhaps very slowly. But when you finally release your first high-value project, you will get more feedback from it. And when you will see yourself additioning project on top of project, this will keep you going. You will notice that it finally makes sense. You will be proud of your progress. I will finish with this. You are not unique, but your ideas are. You can see yourself competing with hundreds of people and give up before starting. Or you can realize that you are one of thousands who did not give up on the very first obstacle. Less than a quarter of all people who ever thought about writing a book ended up actually writing one chapter. The competition is hard when you are at the top, but extremely low when you are first starting. And right now, you are far from the top, so don't even think about it yet. It's okay if, in a year from now, you want to move on to something new if you start to get bored or realize that you don't enjoy it as much as you thought. But a year from now, if you don't even start, you will be exactly how you are today, meaning wasted potential.